Let's take a look at what the baseball offseason has given us so far and break down some of these moves. All right. Baseball's free agent period well underway. And again, Toxic mentioning in the chat that we had a trade earlier today. Brandon Lau on his way to the Pittsburgh Pirates. It was a 3-team deal involving the Rays and Pirates, obviously, the Houston Astros getting involved in this one also. So I do think that, again, I'm not going to pretend to know every one of the pieces in this one. I think the big one is Brandon Lau. It's just good that the Pirates are getting involved in moves like this. We've heard that they're going to be a little bit more active, getting some revenue sharing stuff. So teams are probably like, hey, or the PA, I guess, more specifically, like, hey, can we pick this up a little bit, please? So they're getting involved. They needed a second baseman. They get a pretty good one. Tampa Bay got a haul in the Shane Baz deal as well with the Baltimore Orioles. So they're kind of retooling here after what has been a bit of an uncharacteristic couple-year stretch outside of relevancy in what is an increasingly competitive American League East. But Lau going to the Pirates, we'll see if they can get kind of their big name, that big deal to rocket them up a little bit with Skeens already in that starting rotation. Maybe they could be competitive because I don't know how strong the Central is going to be in this upcoming season. The one that's really interesting is Shane Baz going to the Baltimore Orioles. A few prospects going the other way from Baltimore to Tampa Bay. Baz has he has stuff that can be very frustrating for hitters, and for Baltimore. We'll talk about them in a second here, that they bring in Pete Alonso. They made the trade earlier, bringing in Taylor Ward. They have solidified one of the best offenses in baseball right now. The pitching staff needed some work. Baz, if he is right, if he is healthy, if everything is going, this is a very, very talented pitcher that the Baltimore Orioles have just brought in. It is just a matter of, can you get that out of him on a consistent basis, and can he stay healthy during that time? If he can, then this is a strong move for Baltimore, and one that they absolutely had to make. Again, there is always the reputation of don't trade with the Rays because they have a fantastic idea of everyone's farm system, and they have a pretty good idea of when their guys are about to fall off. So we will see what comes from that. But I think it's the type of move that the Orioles should be making right now, given how good that offense could be, even with some down years from Adley Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson maybe not getting to some of the levels, Holiday maybe not being as pro ready as, or MLB ready as some people thought. At its peak, this is the best lineup in baseball. So they need to go kind of, maybe not all in, but they need to make some big moves to go out and acquire some starting pitching. And they did just that. Going to look at some of the other bigger moves from the offseason. May as well start with the Orioles and Pete Alonso. Again, it makes this such a dangerous lineup. And I think last year we maybe overrated how good this lineup could be, given the talent that was there. I think that there was a lot of relying on best case scenario and just what we always think of young prospects, where it's just arrow up the whole way. There is going to be some downtime for some of these guys. We saw that last year with the Orioles, but now with some protection there, with Pete Alonso in the lineup, Ward, a very consistent offensive piece as well, or at least quite the threat as an offensive piece as well. It's a dangerous lineup. It is probably a longer contract than I'd want to go, and it's probably a little bit more money than I would want to do, but people have been saying that about the Blue Jays deals, and I've said it's only money because it's baseball and there's no salary cap, so I would then be a hypocrite to go and criticize the Orioles for this. If it were me, I would have put more of that money into starting pitching, and they still could, who knows, but they have traditionally been a little bit on the cheaper side, pitching-wise, and then they weren't, and then the guy got hurt. But I am surprised that they went with this move over getting pitching first, but still a lot of offseason to go. The Philadelphia Phillies have certainly bolstered their lineup as they keep Kyle Schwarber in the fold and also add Adolis Garcia on free agency as well. With Schwarber, you kind of had to do it. This is, obviously, it's an aging group, but Schwarber was probably the best just pure power hitter out on the market, and if you lose him, Like, you're already trying to get better because we are assuming again that the Atlanta Braves are going to be a factor in this in this National League East situation, and the Mets are always just kind of lurking, and the Phillies don't just want to stack up with the National League East. They have World Series aspirations, and so they have to improve to catch the Dodgers. It doesn't help if you have to start way further back than you were if Schwarber leaves for Boston or somewhere else. So they had to do this. Garcia, it's a fun power bat added to that lineup and really just kind of locking in on let's just hit some dingers and see what happens. I do wonder where better is coming from with this team. Like, Garcia can be a bit of a boost, but I don't know if it's one where it's like, okay, well, now they can beat the Dodgers. I think they need a little bit more on the pitching side. They had a good rotation last year, but a couple of pieces kind of aging and falling off a little bit. I think if you were looking for where does the better come with this team, it is adding to that rotation and trying to get through that way. But a full year of Duran maybe helps in the bullpen. We'll see. But the Phillies are a team that I think is going to have to get a little creative to try to get over the hump here of the Dodgers, and now with the Braves providing a bit of resistance in the NL East as well. One player leaving the NL East is Edwin Díaz as he goes to the LA Dodgers. Makes all the sense in the world for them, right? Like, when we were watching the Blue Jays against them in the World Series, it was, hey, can you get to the bullpen? And the Dodgers needed a 24-year-old in his first year in North America to close out games, and then Yamamoto on 25 minutes rest after throwing 95 pitches to close out the World Series. So adding the best closer available makes all the sense in the world. He was the one in the bullpen. I've liked the Blue Jays moves so far. He was the one of the big name relievers, that I wanted the Blue Jays to actually go out and try to invest in, but it is a bigger contract than I wanted. Dodgers can do that because they're the Dodgers, and there are other teams that should be doing that, absolutely, but it's still bigger than I would have gone on a relief pitcher, and so you can understand why Toronto maybe wanted to go with the more value route of Rogers. Not that that was a cheap contract or anything, but that's kind of where that they wanted to get to there. So I think it's a smart move. I do wonder, he strikes me as someone where that cliff could come soon, and it falls off very, very quickly. So that was always a bit of a concern of mine with the Blue Jays. Would I be saying these same things if he signed with Toronto? Maybe not, just to be perfectly honest with you. But there would have probably been a little bit of me that's like, man, I love it, happy he's here. Worried about this a bit, but the Dodgers are a year in, year out. Let's just try to win the World Series team. 100%. Toxic in the chat. Yamamoto still gives me nightmares. Oh, dude. Like, that was terrifying. Just seeing him warming up. Like, we're a few months away, obviously, from the start of baseball season, but I'm already considering just throwing that guy in my top 10 players of the league list, just because of how dominant he was there and how he was able to do what he did. That is legendary stuff that we are talking about. So yes, as a Blue Jays fan, still some nightmares there. 100%. We're sticking around in the NL East as Suarez goes to the Braves. I love this for them. I think they have a really well-structured team and a very well put together kind of balance sheet. They've sent some very good contracts. The Acuna injury situations have been really frustrating, and the injury issues in Atlanta finally caught up to them this year. I think this is a dangerous team again, and adding Suarez to that rotation is a very smart addition from Alex Anthopoulos. They've made a couple of other moves as well. I still talked about it the other day. I still view them as a real threat in the Bo Bichette business. I think that they could, even with the signings they've made, I think they could still bring Bo in and get a little bit creative and figure it out. The Braves are going to be for real this year, I think, in the National League East. Again, health pending. And one of the teams that I'm surprised we haven't talked about a lot, the New York Mets, they make the move, and it is Jorge Polanco coming in. I like the bat, a really good bounce back year. I thought he was kind of locked in to stay with the Mariners, so a little surprised that he goes to the New York Mets. Apparently that's the plan for first base right now. We'll see what happens as the offseason goes on, but he's played like one inning there ever. I don't love this one. And again, it's weird breaking down baseball contracts because the money doesn't really matter, and especially for the Mets. When you have a billionaire owner of your team, like, what are we gonna? Oh no, this has been overspending here. Like, that's whatever. Money is money in baseball, but Polanco is the kind of value bat that you add after the rest of the dominoes have fallen, but they got ahead of it and still didn't get any of the value on that. Like, I feel like with this contract, and it's with most, right? It's free agency, that's what happens. But you are so banking on best case scenario with this guy to make that work out. It just, the way the Mets have gone about this offseason has been very, very confusing to me. And so that is why, again, I still view them as, we'll talk about my predictions in the offseason here in a sec. They're a Kyle Tucker threat. 100% they are. It's the only way this offseason makes sense, really. They signed Luke Weaver and Devin Williams as well, because they watched the playoffs and thought, yeah, Yankee bullpen is what we need to go with. Like, Mets fans are furious, and you can absolutely understand why at this point. I think it's been a brutal offseason for them. Could change with one big move, but I think it's been pretty brutal so far. Toxic in the chat, just can't wait for you Savage and Rogers coming in after. Dude, it's going to be so fun to watch that whole thing play out. Like Rogers, that arm angle is going to be weird on anyone. Like Gosman, Barrios, whoever pitches, having to deal with that arm angle is weird. But having that follow, like you go from one of the highest release points in the league to Rogers, who, I said this in the video, the only way you can get a lower release point with Rogers is if he literally tunnels under the mound. So I think it's very creative. I think the Blue Jays are going to have a lot of fun with that. And he provides a lot of value when it comes to eating up some innings in that bullpen as well. Like, he can do kind of the Louis Varland thing as well if you want Varland now in some higher leverage situations. So, yes, that is a note for Blue Jays fans. This is the other MLB reactions. By the time you see this, Tyler Rogers, if you're watching it after, the Tyler Rogers video will be up. I've reacted to all the Blue Jays free agent signings so far. So if you want some Blue Jays stuff, that is available. Just look for the Blue Jays playlist that I have. I call it the Catalanato cast on here, or just look in the channel. There's a few Blue Jays videos in here as well.